Am I on? Okay. Let me make a small correction. It's a date. Virginia and Leo didn't move back to Louisville until 1980, around the time that my dad, it was before Daddy passed away. It was like, I guess, in the summer of 79. And they rented a house, and then they moved into their house on Paddington. And I remember Daddy and I going out there with a bottle of champagne, and he wasn't feeling good at the time. So you remember those things afterwards. But um, back to my trips. The Ireland, I've been, I guess, twice now with, I guess, both times with Francie, yeah. She and I went on our own. We were pretty brave little old ladies because, well, of course, we spoke the language, that helped. And that was on our way to meet Judy in Germany. So we went to England, went to London, and went to Dublin, Ireland, and stayed in a hotel. And you had to put pennies or coins in the meter to get light. I mean, it's very primitive. And but you've never tasted such breakfasts. I mean, they fed you, well, I would never eat that much breakfast. Eggs and sausage and pancakes and oatmeal, delicious oatmeal. So we told them, don't give us that much. We don't want to eat that all that. So they brought out more meat instead of the pancakes. But anyway, we had some good trips there. Then I, I went to Spain with this friend, Pat White, and I think I was talking about that. And we went with the Knights of Columbus. Daddy was a member, and he had a pamphlet on it, and it was your flight over there and the hotel, and it was very, very interesting. Good food. I mean, different. Spanish food is a little different. Good. What's that wine they serve? It's a mild wine. It's not very strong.
Sangria.
Yes.
Say that.
And that was served with everything. I never will forget. They said they were going to have a bullfight. Well, I wanted to see a bullfight, and so did Pat. Well, it'd be the last time I ever want to see a bullfight. Nobody told me what it was going to be. Oh my God, I nearly died. It was awful, awful. Well, they took us way up in the mountains on a bus to see this bullfight, and they kept saying that we'd be back in time for mass at like 6 o'clock. Well, the people on the bus said, talked them into taking side trips here and there. And here I am, a nervous wreck. We're going to miss mass. We're going to miss mass, which we did. We got back, and I think it was right after communion. So Pat said to me, she said, don't you ever tell my mother that we miss mass. I said, Pat, we didn't miss mass. We had no control over that. She said, but my mother wouldn't understand. And I thought that was so sad. You know, if I told my mother what happened, it happened, you know. Anyway, that was a good trip. That was Spain. Then we went down to Morocco. What is that? The Strait of Gibraltar that you cross. Oh my gosh, what a difference in how they live and how we live. It was just, well, it was a rude awakening, let's put it that way. And then.
Say more about that. How did they live?
Huh?
Say more about that. How did they live?
Oh, very, I can't think of the adjective. I want to say rustic, but I mean, they would have like a donuts selling in the street on a great big platter of them. and flies all over the donuts. I didn't want to eat any of that. I mean, their sanitary conditions and ours are nothing to compare. And you had running water going down the street, and Lord knows what was in that running water. But where we stayed was a very nice hotel and very clean and all, but not like we live here in the States.
Now, that was what year? Do you remember? In the 60s?
Gosh, got pictures of me riding a Campbell.
So were you in your
19.
30s?
Let's see, I
Were you in your
went
30s?
to. It was in 67 to
Okay.
70.
Okay.
I,
That just wanted to get
Okay,
a ballpark
yeah.
on the range.
a lot of years have passed for me. Pat and I, we went out to St. Louis one year to the Muni Opera, and it's like our amphitheater. Oh, it was so big and so nice. Where else did we go? Well, I went to Lourdes with my friend Art because he had been, well, he was sick. He had kidney problems, and he was hoping to get a cure at Lourdes. And he said even though he didn't get a cure, he knew he was blessed, and I know what he meant. When I walked into it was a gated community and nothing but flowers. I mean, my thought, it gives me cold chills talking about it. My thought was, I'm in heaven. This is what heaven looks like, because it was just absolutely beautiful. But then on the outside of that fence, that gated community, was nothing but typical Catholic stores where they sold religious items. I mean, it was almost a mockery, but there was none of that you had to pay for the flowers. But it was a beautiful trip. It really was. And so nobody thinks there anything went on. I wouldn't go with him, just he and I. So he got a friend of his, another lady, and we stayed together in a hotel. And mainly because of my two older sisters, I'd had a hard time explaining to them, you know, taking a trip to Europe with a man. But Art and I were good friends, and it was a nice trip, and very made you realize what the power of prayer. So, but Disneyland, I guess, is, I should be ashamed to say that, is my favorite place. Lourdes was beautiful, and I thought I was in heaven, but Disneyland was in my fantasy of a child. I mean, to walk in there and just, it's a small world, and all, well, anybody that's been there knows. Francie and I went to Disneyland a couple times, and we would have gone more, but we got to the point where I couldn't walk, and she couldn't push a wheelchair, so I would love to go back, but I'll have to wait till I get my wings, and then I'll just fly over it.
The last question on this list is, tell us something about you that we don't already know.
I wish I could think of something that would just kind of shock you all, but my life's an open book, and it would be a deathbed confession, and I honestly and truly don't know of anything that I could tell you that you don't know. I mean, that I'm not ashamed of anything that I've ever done. And
Okay. Let's go back in time.
okay.
Do you know much about the 1917 tornado that took the roof off the building? Talk about that.
I would,
What was told, what was the oral history that was handed down to you?
okay, that was when they lived,
Who's they?
Francie, Virginia, I guess Jim and Elvin, down on 4th Street where the Galt House is. And they had to move because the roof blew off from the tornado. Now, where they went was 130 East Market Street, I think. I mean, I'm sure that's it. And that would have been in the, oh, no. I mean, the dates don't G-haul. That was 1918.
18, yeah, 1918, sorry.
Mother and them were just married.
I'm just going about what you gave me.
Oh, okay. Well, I could be wrong, you know.
Okay.
I know the roof did blow off the house, and I think that's why maybe it was 1918. I'm sure there's been other tornadoes.
So talk then about the connection between, so they lived at corner 4th and River Road where the Galt House is. Was there a connection to where they lived then and the Opera Hotel?
Mother and Daddy?
Well, the Opera Hotel was also at 4th and River.
Yes.
So.
Oh, no, they didn't live in the hotel. It was, I think it was next to I mean, they were very close. It wasn't the same. I can't give you I wasn't there.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Tell us about what you know about the Opera Hotel.
That my great grandfather ran it like he was French, but he acted like a German, very stern and very. My mother was scared to death of him as a little girl, and he sat in a big chair and ruled. He came for money. I mean, they had money. We never saw it, but they kept it up in Canada. That's where he was from. And we've had some characters in our family. He traveled the States, came down from Canada and went all the way down to New Orleans and then rode riverboats. I mean, he was a gambler on a riverboat. And we could have made a swell movie about him. And but they called him French Frank. He was French. But and his wife, he was a great big tall man, and she was a little tiny woman. She was from Alsace-Lorraine, which is over in the German France area that switches nationalities every time there's a war. And she was here for Bloody Monday. She had just arrived in Louisville, and she knew all about it. I think she was hidden in one of the churches. I want to say St. Martin's. That's when they were, the know-nothings were out to get the Catholics. And anyway, they were married, and she was 50 years old, and her husband, French Frank, was 70 years old when they had a baby girl, and that was Aunt Claire, and she was married to Pete Baker, and they lived down the West End, and like on 35th Street. She was a character just like her nephew Frank and niece Margaret. I mean, they were something. They're divine. I mean, just delightful people that you would want to be around. You know, they just had a good outlook on life, and which is great when you think about it, that people can feel that way. I know there's a lot more.
So I'm looking at this Courier Journal article from what, 54, 55. So French Frank lived to be 94.
I guess so, yeah.
So we got some good
Long
longevity. Aunt
livers.
Virginia
Yeah,
passed away at
101.
101.
Your mother was 96.
Yeah, we got some good longevity genes.
Yeah, good genes. And Aunt Margie was in her 90s when she died, too.
Talk about Aunt Margie.
Oh
Speaking
my
of characters.
God. You could write a book about Aunt Margie. She was one of the, well, I guess she was my favorite aunt, if you can have a favorite aunt. God rest their souls. They're all the other ones are dead. But she lived next door to us, and they lived in 126, we lived in 124. Well, in the back, out our kitchen window, was a fire escape. And you could you could climb over the fire escape, which the families did all the time. Even Aunt Margie would hop over that like it was nothing. And they would come in the kitchen window. And one of the funniest things I think is Mary Rose, Sister Renee. She'd come over to see us all the time. You know, she wanted to be where all the action where action was with her cousins. And Aunt Margie holler out, "Mary Rose, where are you? Where are you, Mary Rose?" And Mary Rose, "Aunt Florence, give me something to eat real quick." And she'd give her a piece of bread or something. And she said, "Mom, I'm eating. I'm eating." Well, because she was eating, she said, "Oh, okay, then you stay." But she missed her, and she wanted her over there with her. But if she was eating, she could stay with the Webers. Mary Rose was very, very, very close to us, and because of that, I mean, we lived next door to each other, and all those people that lived in that house, the Loonies and the Ridges. I mean, you never locked your door. Anybody could come in, you know. Now the downstairs door was always locked. Nobody off the street could get in, but the others just could roam through the house. So. But Aunt Margie and Uncle Bill were one of my special people. He was one of the most. He was lace curtain Irish, and he came from a poor family. Doesn't mean anything to you. The Kennedys were lace curtain Irish. They were a notch above the Irish Mick. You know, they were just. Uncle Bill went to high school. His uncle, a marriage had money, was in the oil business, and he sent him to boarding school up in Indiana, and run by some monks. I want to say Rensselaer, Indiana. I don't know if there's a college up there. Not a college, a high school. And Uncle Bill could have done anything because he had personality. Everybody liked him. You couldn't help from liking. They were a grand couple, but I hate to admit this, but Aunt Margie was rotten spoiled, as was her brother, my dad. And when Aunt Margie and Uncle Bill were first married, he wanted her to come live with his mother because she was a widow, and that way he could help support her down in Portland. And Aunt Margie didn't want to do it. And I don't know if that's what split them up or what. I think he got a bull on him and said, "Margaret, if you don't come with me, I'm not coming here. You will just." They broke up. And then it was years, I guess it was a good 15 years before they got back together, and they were remarried. They were divorced. You didn't know that? They
did Sister Renee come along before or after the divorce?
Oh,
In the first
and-
marriage or the second?
oh no, she was when they were first married.
Okay.
Can you cut it off?